Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another Pokemon Movesets video. Today's video is going to be all about Linoone, so let's get started by taking a look at this Pokemon's typing, abilities, and stats. So to start things off, Linoone is a normal type Pokemon introduced in Generation 3 that has access to 3 abilities, the first of which being Pickup, which is probably its least useful ability in competitive battles because it requires a very specific set of conditions for it to even work, and most of those are pretty unlikely in a competitive battle anyway. But for its second ability, it is known as Gluttony, which allows this Pokemon to have access to its berries when it falls below 50% of its health, as opposed to the usual 25, which is particularly useful for Linoone because of the fact that it has access to Belly Drum. But for its last ability, it is known as Quick Feet, which allows the Pokemon to increase its speed stat by 50% when it is inflicted by a status, such as poison, and also not be hindered in its speed stat when it is actually paralyzed, which is a really cool side effect of this ability as well. But for its stats, this Pokemon has pretty average stats across the board, with base 78 HP, 61 defense, and 61 special defense, meaning that it is not particularly bulky, and it's about as average in terms of its defenses as you would expect, a starting normal type Pokemon to be of the generation. But for its offenses, it has a base 70 physical attack, which is the better of its 2 attacking stats because its base 50 special attacking stat is not that great. Lastly though, it has a base 100 speed stat, which is very good, and one of the saving graces of this Pokemon because it does allow it to outspeed quite a few things with the speed stat. But with that, let's take a look at the first set that I have for you in this video. So for this first moveset, it's pretty much your standard Belly Drum set for Linoone. So we're going to start this one off by giving it either a Jolly Nature to increase its speed but lower its special attack, or an Adamant Nature to increase its physical attack but lower its special attack, and making use of the Gluttony ability. As for the EVs, we're going to put 4 into its HP to give you an even HP number, 252 into its physical attack to maximize that, and 252 EVs into its speed stat to also maximize that stat. And for the first move on this set, we're going to be going with Belly Drum, which will be the move that will be halving our HP while also simultaneously maxing our physical attack to +6. And when used in combination with an even HP number and the Gluttony ability and the Figgy Berry item, you will actually immediately be brought back up to full HP when you fall below 50% of your health, because the Figgy Berry this generation actually recovers 50% of your health as opposed to what it normally did, which is very cool. Additionally though, you could also go with Normalium Z with Belly Drum because that will also bring you up to full if you have earlier in the battle possibly lost a bunch of HP. So this is a cool thing that you can make use of as well, but the Figgy Berry option is a lot cooler in my opinion. But for the other moves on the set, we're obviously going to be going with Extreme Speed because that's one of the best priority moves in the game. It's Stab on this Pokemon and is only available through an event, but most of the time I know most of you battle on Pokemon Showdown anyway, so you can just make use of it on there. But the other 2 coverage options are Seed Bomb and Shadow Claw, which allows Pokemon to have some pretty good coverage once it's set up and potentially sweep your opponent's team and get rid of any counters that it may be up against on your opponent's team. Now, if you're a really big fan of Linoone and want to use this Pokemon in OU, where it pretty much is never seen, it actually can be functioning very effectively, but you have to change up the Belly Drum set a little bit, which is what you're seeing right here. So for the nature, again, Adamant for increased attack but lowered special attack, or this time going with Naive for increased speed but lower special defense, and everything else on the set is pretty much exactly the same except for the last move option and the item choices. So the reason why Thunder, Blizzard, and Dig are on here is because it allows this Pokemon to have very specific counters to a variety of OU Pokemon that could prove to stop this Pokemon from setup sweeping because they're able to take hits from it even after it has set up a Belly Drum. So Blizzard with Icium Z is there for Landorus, Thunder with Electrium Z that is there for Skarmory, and Dig with Groundium Z is there for things like Heatran, other steel types, and also specifically Scizor, because that thing can be very, very bulky, but that will only be taken out after you have already Belly Drummed and made use of Groundium Z after that fact. So this set's a little bit different, but it does work as a way of allowing this Pokemon to have some viability in OU as a Belly Drum sweeper, because obviously it gives it some interesting coverage options to deal with some of the many common physical walls in that tier. As for this next moveset, it is my personal favorite way to run Linoone, which is that of with a Choice Band. So we're going to start this one off by giving it either a Jolly or Adamant Nature, like before, and running an EV spread of 252 attack, 4 special defense, and 252 speed EVs to give this Pokemon its maximum physical attack and speed. And as mentioned just a second ago, we're going to be running a Choice Band on this Pokemon to increase its physical attack power while locking it into a move. But for those moves, the first thing that we're going to go with, again, is going to be Extreme Speed, as it's pretty much the best normal type stab move that this Pokemon gets because of its increased priority. And in addition to this, then we're also going to need to run Seed Bomb and Shadow Claw for that type coverage, specifically against Rock and Ghost types that Extreme Speed is not very effective against. But for the last move slot, we actually get a couple of options here because we're running a Choice Band and not setting up with Belly Drum. The first of those being Switcheroo, which will allow you to switch your Choice Band onto another Pokemon while taking their item in return, which can work to possibly cripple an opposing wall or Pokemon that really was relying on either setting up or stalling or anything like that. So Switcheroo can be a really great utility option for this set at the cost of losing a little bit of attack power by giving them your Choice Band. But you could also run Double Edge to have an even more powerful normal type stab attack to make use of with the Choice Band, which will give us Pokemon some much increased power right off the bat, because again, we're not running Belly Drum, so we already have the boosted power with the Choice Band at all times without any setup turns required. And this is personally my favorite way to use this Pokemon, because setting up sometimes can be a little bit risky, and this just really gives you that power that Linoone can have with the Choice Band and the priority through Extreme Speed, without any setup required. Moving on to the fourth moveset of this video, it's actually a Quick Feet set for Linoone to run, which is something I actually very rarely have ever seen this Pokemon make use of, but it's probably one of the best users of Quick Feet in the game because it already has a pretty good speed stat. So for its nature on this one, we can either go with Adamant or Jolly, again to increase your physical attack but lower your special attack with Adamant, or increase your speed but lower your special attack with Jolly, and then of course going with the Quick Feet ability. For the EVs though, again we're going to be running the same spread with 252 physical attack, 4 special defense, and 252 speed EVs, and then to talk about the item first, we're going to be running a Toxic Orb, which will allow this Pokemon to poison itself, thus activating its Quick Feet, and turning it into one of the fastest Pokemon in the game that is not holding a Choice Scarf, which is very cool and unique for this Pokemon in itself. But for the moves that we're going to be making use of once we have activated our Toxic Orb, Workup is going to be there as a potential option to allow you to boost your physical attack, and also your special attack, but to a lesser extent obviously, and thus make Linoone a little bit more powerful, or you could potentially just run a fourth move on the set, and I listed that one here at the end. But the main move of the set that we're going to be using with our normal type stab is going to be Facade, because this is going to be increased to base 140 power as a result of being poisoned, thus being a very powerful move that this Pokemon can fire off and be obviously outspeeding a lot of things to fire this move off, which is very cool. But in addition, again, we still need that Seed Bomb and Shadow Claw coverage, and an additional option on the set also could be to run Play Rough to allow this Pokemon to have a powerful Fairy type move to make use of as well, if it feels the need to have that for coverage, which as mentioned before, could be used in place of Workup if you just want to use 4 attacking moves. But overall, this set turns Linoone into one of the fastest attackers in this game, and even with its base 70 physical attack being not that high, a very fast and powerful Facade is something that your opponents won't really want to switch into if they can avoid it. And finally, for the last moveset of this video, I have a very unconventional but fun set to use on this Pokemon that can be interesting to try out every now and then because it is very frustrating for your opponents to deal with. So for this set, we're going to start by giving it an Adamant or Jolly nature again like before, and also running Quick Feet as your ability because you really don't benefit from Pickup or Gluttony on this set as all. We're also going to be running the same EV spread as the previous set, and for the item this time going with Leftovers to allow this Pokemon to recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn. But for the moves on the set, it's basically designed to allow this Pokemon to be as frustrating to deal with as possible, and also make it so that this Pokemon either never gets hit or your opponent cannot attack. So for the first move, we're going to be going with Substitute to allow this Pokemon to get behind a protective barrier to shield it from attacks and statuses, and also then going with a status move of your own in the form of either Thunder Wave to paralyze your opponents or Toxic to poison them and cause them to take increased damage at the end of every turn the longer they stay in. But more specifically, when working with Thunder Wave, your opponent then has a chance to not attack you, which means you can keep your substitute up for longer. But in addition to this, our main normal type attack on the set is going to be Headbutt, which will allow this Pokemon to have access to a weaker physical attack, but also have a 30% chance to flinch your opponent, which when used in combination with Thunder Wave can make it very difficult for your opponent to attack, and also when used in combination with Toxic can basically stall out a turn of toxic damage if you get the flinch. But finally, to round the set off even more so and make it more frustrating to deal with, we're also going to run Mud Slap, which will lower your opponent's accuracy, making them harder to hit you. Now, a lot of people are confused as to if this is legal or not, but yes it is. Only moves that increase your evasion are banned, but moves that lower your opponent's accuracy are very much allowed. So in addition to the potential paralysis or potential flinch or potential chance to miss, your opponent is going to have a very difficult time hitting you. And this could also, again, be switched up if you want to run Toxic as well, because Mud Slap and Headbutt in and of themselves can also be very infuriating for your opponent to have to break through while you stall out for Toxic damage. But overall, this is just a kind of unconventional set to use, but can be very fun to try out if you want to give it a shot, because it's definitely not something that you see every day. But anyways, everybody, that is it for this video, so thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed my Linoone exhibition of movesets that are possible to use in 7th Gen, and as always, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.